Have you ever looked up into the sky and just marveled at the clouds? Perhaps you've seen an elephant floating leisurely among them. And what about that time your grilled cheese came out looking like the Virgin Mary? Well, as humans, we're programmed to make connections between what we see and things we already know. Today on Odin's Throne, we discuss the phenomenon of Pareidolia and what you can do to avoid looking like an idiot because of it. In 1976, NASA showed off this picture from the Viking 1 orbiter. It had been shot on a certain area of Mars called Cydonia. People freaked out pretty quickly because at first glance, this looks like a giant face. The eyes, the nose, and the mouth, they all appear prominently, and honestly, what else could this be? So the question was, is it a monument to humans created by Martians? Is it a remnant of a long-lost society on Mars? Well, some 25 years later, NASA got another shot of that area taken with upgraded technology. And the result, as you can see, is a bit less impressive. No Martians, just another rock formation that happened to look like a face. Our brains are highly focused on identifying faces, and this is perhaps the result of needing to safely identify other humans in order to survive throughout our evolutionary history. So there's certainly a benefit to Pareidolia, but now that our existence is not quite as fragile as it was, say, several 100,000 or a million years ago, it seems to be overactive, causing us to identify certain forms incorrectly. So Pareidolia is not a disease or a disability, but it is something that affects all humans. It happens across cultures and religions, but those who believe in supernatural things do tend to make these types of connections a bit more often than their secular counterparts. Women also tend to experience pareidolia a bit more than men, and this is possibly because of an increased ability to determine facial representations of emotion. So let's dig into pareidolia a bit and look at a few classic examples so you have a better understanding of what it is and how to avoid being fooled by it. The Rorschach ink blot test was created in 1921, and it used the pareidolia phenomena in order to produce a profile of schizophrenic individuals, and then was later used as a projective measure of personality. Now, although this testing is no longer common due to difficulty in scoring, the test itself is a bit of a pop culture icon in part due to the pareidolia effect, also in part due to this guy. So I'm quite sure that most of the American audience watching this has probably tried to fold an American $20 bill into the eerie form of the World Trade Center as seen here. Now, this is an interesting case since the ability to do the folding has existed for as long as the modern $20 bill has been in circulation. But it wasn't until after the attacks on the World Trade Center that it became common to see people applying the imagery to the bills. This makes it very clear that we are placing our own thoughts and ideas onto a meaningless set of forms. Finally, the creme de la creme of pareidolia. In 2003, a woman made herself a grilled cheese sandwich, and wouldn't you know it, the Virgin Mary showed up. This particular case of pareidolia is significant because it really did become a major news event, with the sandwich eventually being put up for auction and selling to a casino for $28,000. So, why is experiencing pareidolia a problem? Well, it really isn't unless you allow it to convince you of things that are untrue. And here on Odin's Throne, we strive to know as many true things as possible. And pareidolia is getting in the way of that goal. So how do we avoid the problem of pareidolia? Well, it really is quite simple. One, understand that pareidolia exists. You have that covered. Now, two, slow down and stop jumping to conclusions about things that make no sense. If Jesus was to appear, or the Virgin Mary was to appear, do you think that they would go and do it by appearing on a grilled cheese sandwich, or in a log, or on a crab, or on a dog's butt? Probably not. And really, that's basically it. It seems easy enough, but the other thing you have to contend with is a herd of your peers who take the Pareidolia bait and run off the edge of the cliff. Don't run off the edge of the cliff. Stop and think about the claims being made and make your own judgment based on sound reason and logic. So now you know a bit about Pareidolia and how it can trick you into believing ridiculous things. Hopefully, you're one step closer to understanding your brain and the ways it can undermine you. If you enjoyed this content, like and subscribe to Odin's Throne today. If you're interested in other ways your brain can trick you, check out the other videos in the Bad Brain series.